Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, this fall we at Brown Farms got the opportunity to demo this Gleaner S97. So we ran it for pretty much three full days in beans, basically a day and a half in corn, but gotta put some acres to it, gotta put some hours on it. Had a lot of questions on what we thought of it. We currently run two Lexion 740s, so that's what we're coming from. Dad, he grew up running Gleaners, so this was the first time he'd been in one since an N5, so I figured we'd do a quick review, talk about our likes, our dislikes, and the things that surprised us, and you know, our overall opinion on it. Okay, well, we're getting started here. We'll go ahead and open up the panel so you can see what we got in here.
That'll come down.
Yeah, that does. And then this goes up. Oh, yeah. Yep, there we go. So there's not a whole lot to the inside of one of these. A lot of pulleys, not a lot of gearboxes. I know with cloths that's pretty much the same, and I was explaining to it that a farmer can replace belts easier than they can gearboxes. Well, if you ever looked at a cloth, sometimes, I don't know. Anyways, this one, it does seem like everything is very easy to get to. Dad, is this much different than what you remember the N5 being?
The design is the same. It's just everything is much heavier on it. You know, bigger belts. It's just everything's heavier on it. They've really done a good job, I think, making everything heavier. I think mine was like 20. I want to say made weight 26,000.
These weigh 33,000.
33,000, right? 33,000. So they've, you know, made that much, strengthened that stuff that much more. Everything's a little heavier. Yeah, it's a heavier machine.
If you want to know exactly how this machine works, like how the threshing and all that system works, AGCO has some really excellent videos on the Gleaner YouTube page, so check those out. We could explain it to you, but to be honest, we just watched those videos and that's where we got most of our information outside of what Dad could remember. There is a couple upgrades they've made to the threshing system. There's actually several since the N5, mostly diameter, and then I think...
The big thing is the cylinder in it is, I think, 32 inches compared to 24, something like that. It's a lot bigger, so that gives it more capacity.
Well, wasn't there something with the shoe that was different?
It's got a cascade shoe, a perforated pan where it drops down. But everything else shoots a blast of air. And if you look at the back of this machine going through the field, it just shoots a big blast of air out compared to our other machines. It's a lot more air. And that's how it cleans it so much better. And it forces it down on the accelerator rolls. If you look at some of the videos, they explain it. It's really neat.
One thing I was surprised, the whole time I was running this thing, I basically had the sieves. That's what we call them, chaffers. I don't know. In cloth land, they're sieves. Basically had those wide open the whole time. Sample was remarkably clean. Grain was in great shape, but the sample was completely clean. I was pretty surprised that we were able to run it open and have that much of a clean sample. So yeah, this is basically what you see under here. Well, like I said, we like everything's easy to get to. The DEF tank, it does have DEF. It is a modern diesel engine, so that is easy to get to. I do like that. I know people are going to ask, this is an AGCO. I believe it's either an 8.6 or a 9.3 liter 7-cylinder AGCO engine. This is a class 7, the 97. That means class 7. If it's 98, it'd be a class 8. This one is not 375. I believe the class 8 goes up to 430. But I like that this is easy to get to. All the belts seem to be easy to get to. There are a lot of grease fittings on it, but I believe if
that's good. You know, you grease things. They're not 10 hour, they're 50 hour, and you can get a grease bank for it when you order them. And I assume that greases about everything. Makes it a lot simpler.
Yeah, our next combine, if we order it new, we'll probably have that just for reliability and ease of maintenance. But anyways, back to what we like about it. Like I said, we really like the cab. We'll go up there and take a look at the cab now. So the cab of this combine, I like it. This is basically the same cab that is on the Fendt Ideal. Mine is just a couple small changes. Inside the cab, there's not a whole lot of things I don't like. The paneling, it does kind of seem cheap. I know I was watching Mike Mitchell's video on the Ideal and he kind of made the same comment. It does look a little weird, but function-wise, I don't see any problem with it. seems to do the job just fine. I was pretty impressed with this monitor. It was very easy to get the hang of. Basically, yeah, it didn't take near as long as I thought. Dad, you got any complaints on the cab?
Nope, nice cab, nice cab.
Cab was quiet, good visibility. This monitor, it does swivel over here, so if this was ours, I'd move it because it is kind of right in the way. But other than that, like the cab for the most part. Cup holders and power sources everywhere. I like that.
The ladder's neat to get in the grain tank. When the extension's up, you fold that ladder around, it goes to the door. Then you climb up, you climb right in the grain tank. There's a ladder in there. You can steps down in there. You can step down it if you need to.
Yes. Right now, I should mention, this combine is prepped for shipping, so the dual is off of it. This ladder is just hanging here to make it narrow. It actually pulls out quite a bit to clear a dual.
This is on a rail, slides right out.
Yeah. So right now, that's why it kind of looks a little goofy. There's parts in there for shipping and stuff.
If it didn't have duals or single tar, this is probably the way it'd be. Add tracks.
Yeah. One thing I liked about it, it does have a power ladder. I would show you that, but it is unplugged. But when we were running corn with an 8-row head, I didn't notice this till the last day we were running it. Dad was actually riding with me. He just folded the ladder right around. Had plenty of room for the head to clear, and yeah, it did fine. Otherwise, with an 8-row, your ladder is kind of hitting
right at the edge of the. If you go around the field, open the field up, you'll knock some corn down because it's right close to the. This sticks out a couple inches from the head.
Yes, so don't want to do that if you can. And it's pretty nice that will roll right around here.
This is the variable speed for the feeder house. It's just so much bigger than what the old one. Of course, 1-point hookup, that's nice. The feeder house is just a few 6 inches, 5 inches longer than the old ones, so you can see it a little better. A lot heavier chain than what the old ones were. The old one was just a 2-chain, I think.
Now, I believe in some of those AGCO videos we were watching, they did upgrade the feeder house quite a bit and make some changes there. But like I say, watch those videos if you want that kind of detail, because I don't know them right offhand. One thing I really like, everything on this combine is built, in my opinion, to be easily accessed and serviced. So on the clean grain elevator right here, there's actually a fold down step so you can get the things up there. It's little things like that. There's a step on the clean grain elevator. That's just nice things. I don't know any other combines that do that. They all say don't climb here, and everybody does. And it's just nice that there's actual handholds and things like that. There's tools mounted everywhere on this combine to make adjustments. I can't think of any on this side.
The tool here, this long rod here gets in.
Oh, into the rock trap.
The rock trap is in there. When you open it, when it comes open, you'll have dirt in there, so you can take that tool and stick it in there and knock the dirt out till it comes out the bottom there. Knock that door, pull that rod, and that door folds down. Everything comes down. Yeah. This elevator, I guess, is rated for like 5,000 bushel, I believe.
Yeah, we never pushed 5,000. We were running an 8-row head. The most I ever seen through it was 3,200, but we don't have great corn this year. So as far as corn capacity, we really weren't able to push that envelope a whole lot. But it handled an 8-row as good as any other 8-row I've ran. On the return elevator, one thing I thought was...
This is running the whole unload auger after you just pull it by hand. Because the unload auger is straight. It doesn't have they call it a turret on most of the other combines where it comes out, goes up and out.
Well, basically, most other combines have 3 augers.
Yes.
A cross auger in the bin, an auger going up, or elevator, and then an auger going out.
It takes power.
Yes.
Damage to the grain. Where this, you can turn it by hand right there. That's a belt drive. Used to be a change. Well, I think it's always a belt, just a bigger pulling, but this is a notch belt. They've really come a long ways and refined this thing.
I know a lot of people make fun of that auger. I know I thought it looked goofy. That little thing, it moves the grain, and really the reach on it was fine. There is a boot that is not on it now that we have taken off for shipping purposes, but that thing pushes it out there pretty good. We have an Unver 1319 grain cart, clears it just fine. Cleared our J&M grain cart, which is taller, just fine. So really that auger was never concerned. I know I've got lots of questions on did we like it. Have absolutely no complaints with it really. And like you say, it is easier on the crop, takes less grain and a less moving part, takes less power and has less moving parts. So those are all things that are, you know, nice. Another stereotypical thing I get is it looks like a shed. Well, it's thick, that's for sure. It is definitely wide. But hey, it's got a power ladder. And the reason it's wide is because the rotor in this combine sets crossways. Kind of like a cylinder would sit, but it's not a cylinder because it is spiraling the grain across the machine, unlike a cylinder. But you do have your power ladder. You can climb up in here. It's actually very easy to get to everything in here. Very easy to get around in here. And under that cover is your rotor, so it's very easy to access it. You got plenty of room down there. I could probably go on a diet and it wouldn't hurt anything as far as my easeability of getting down there. There's your dipstick for your oil. I mean, everything's easy to get to. So that seals up pretty nice. I wish the grain tank sealed up that nice, but that all seals up pretty good. Stays fairly clean. Pretty sure in here you got an access door to a battery. Yep, so there's your battery. I know a buddy of ours runs an older Gleaner with a power ladder. I can't remember what model they have, but you don't have a door to the battery. He says you just always make sure your power ladder is down. But one unique thing about the Gleaner with the cross rotor design, all your chaff from the rotor comes out right here, and it comes out through that little area and hits this spinner. You got spinners here for the chaff coming out of the sieves, but it spreads pretty good. I was surprised. I didn't think it would be able to spread as good as it does.
The chaff kind of spreads on this side, and the stuff from out of the rotor spread on that side. This is there's a huge wind blast, like I said, comes out of this thing. My old combine didn't have these spinners, and it still spread it, but most of it's up here where it shoots it out. And it is just a large blast of air comes out through there. This spinner will throw cobs clear, 4, 5, 6 rows out.
Yep. And one thing we did notice when we were setting it for sure, when you have rotor loss out of this combine, really that thing it's throwing it out there a ways. So you kind of have to keep that in mind when you are checking what kind of losses you're having with this combine. Yeah, pretty impressed with the spinner. It did streak a little bit. I'm sure we could fine tune that, but it did, in my opinion, it spread better than our Closses. Our Closs run the Mavic chopper, so we don't have any kind of fancy chopper. Things we don't like about it, the bin extensions, they don't close up, so water can get in your grain tank if you leave your combine out. I don't really like that. Yeah, going from crop to crop, I didn't get that on camera when we were doing it, but which pulley was it? Was it?
Over here is the
okay.
Runs the straw spread. There is a chopper in there, straw chopper. Now the old ones I had didn't have that, but now they've got choppers in there. So you got to take this pulley off and put a larger one on.
The larger one,
down, right there.
The larger one is just stored right there. That pulley is hefty. That's a cast pulley.
It's not that bad. The idler comes down. You pull
it's
not too awful bad, but
when we changed it, it was the first time it had ever been changed, so it was really stiff. But we did get it off of there. It's not a huge deal, but you do have to pull that pulley off of there. Then you got another pulley over here on the feeder house that you have to change, don't you?
Yeah.
I believe it's this pulley here. You have to basically swap it. The belt's on this one back here. You basically just switch these two around. Not a huge deal, but it just seems like these days most combines are kind of making it to where you can change over from crop to crop from the cab with basically minimal downtime. Not quite the case with this one, but it's not bad. I don't know what the shortcuts are for it. For example, with our Closses, if you did it right, it would probably take 20 minutes to switch over. Dad does it in 5 minutes, but he kind of, like I say, cuts a little bit of corners. One other thing I don't like how you lock the head in, like when your locking mechanism. You use this wrench, you turn this thing. Our Closses, each head just has a pin you push in and it's done, whereas this one you gotta get that wrench out.
That's the golden wrench on this. You can't put the button.
Yeah, on a Closs you have the golden wrench. It's just a 8mm hex and a 13mm wrench all in one, and that opens all the panels, but not on this. Anyways, what else didn't we like about it? Like I said, capacity wise,
but it isn't set. There's stops in it.
Right, we did say it.
Set for shipping, and they just never change it.
Yeah, I'm sure it will turn better. Right now, this one is not, just because of the way it's set up to ship. Other things I didn't like about it, I don't know capacity-wise what you could get out of this thing. Like I say, I know that they are rated to run 5,000 bushels an hour. I don't know I don't know how attainable that is. In fact, if you have one of these combines, I would love to hear your feedback. If we bought this combine, we'd be running a 12 row on it, and the wettest corn we'd probably do would be 26, 27%. Most of our corn's going to average 20%. And I just wonder how this combine with a 12 row, what kind of capacity you'd be limited to. I would think it would probably be less than ours, but I don't know for sure. Other dislikes, that pretty much covers mine. You have any others?
No,
the return elevators, no sensor.
You can't see it, but I don't remember my old. I don't think you could either, but that's something you don't worry about, I guess. I mean, in mine, you have to worry about the cost. You have to worry about that.
You can plug your return elevator. Like I said, I don't know why there's no gauge for this or sensor to tell you how full your return elevator is, but there isn't. So I guess as long as we don't plug it, it doesn't matter, but it's just a little weird. Also in the cab, some of the buttons on the joystick, I forgot to show this when we were in there, but some of the buttons on the joystick are a little confusing to me and Dad. We are used to our cloths where on the cloths on the stick, down, you push it down and you raise your head up. This is backwards, that's not a big deal. One thing that I kept getting confused on, there's an automatic head drop and raise button. I like that, it's easy to set, but it is right beside the auto steer. So I would go to click the auto steer and raise my head up. Did you do that, Annie?
Until get used to it. It's just
like say that's just stuff. Yeah, you'd get used to it, I think.
And the worst part, if we'd buy one of these, is to keep our cloths. One of them is, you know, if
going back and forth.
Get used to one. It's nice to have all the same machines. If you run two combines, maybe we just buy one of these big ones and run one. I don't know.
Yeah,
but they're a lot of money, and so I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the dislikes I can think of right now. We haven't had to do a whole lot of work to this because it is a brand new machine. So I guess I don't really know what we would encounter that we haven't mentioned as far as dislikes and likes. I think it's very serviceable. Everything looks easy to get to. But like I said, until you actually do that job, you don't really know. Hey guys, while editing this video, I did realize there was a couple dislikes I had forgotten. So I figured I'd just roll this drone footage in and we'll voice over it. But a couple things that I forgot. It does seem like the auger maybe sits back a little bit further than our Kloss combines. I never found it as a big deal. Dad mentioned it a few times when he was running that he had to lean forward maybe a little bit more to see it. Didn't bother me, did bother him a little bit. And then also the feeder house, you can't see it quite as well. It's kind of a shorter feeder house than our Klosses. And it is offset, and that offset did take a little bit of getting used to. But none of those were huge deal breakers for us. Just a couple things I forgot to point out. Now let's talk about things that surprised us. The auger, like I say, that auger surprised the crap out of me just looking at it. I didn't think it'd be that quick of an auger. It doesn't look like it's spitting that grain out fast, but it does. When I ran this in beans and then got back in my combine, my Kloss, definite difference. Now my Kloss has had 2 million bushels, 2+ million bushels of grain through it. I'm sure that Flighting's wore, but this unloads a lot faster. And it also, like I say, the reach was fine with it. We were running a 35-foot head though, so. What else surprised you about it?
Oh, the capacity. Mine wouldn't have I run a 20-foot head on mine, I think.
Well, that was an N5.
Yeah, it was the N5. Basically the same machine, just didn't have the power and everything. But the bigger rotor in this makes a big difference. They've come a long ways. I was pleasantly surprised at it. It handled 12 quart head good. As good as ours, I don't know. In all conditions, I don't know. I did a little bit of double crop down there with it, and it got a lot of like little straw and a lot of little beans, and of course it's getting tough at night. It really pulled it down there. But sometimes you get a little short straw like that, a lot of dusty like stuff, and it can pull any machine. Yeah. But overall, I really liked the machine. I was surprised. It's, you know, nowadays for us it comes to price. If it's cheap, much cheaper than the other ones like that.
Yeah.
Then they got a 3-year warranty, Brian. 2-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, which makes a difference, and you can extend that to 5-year.
Yeah. With the Fendt, I think you have a 3 or a 5-year factory warranty. These, it's a 2-year, but that is extendable. I think you can get the same service plan you can with a Fendt, so that is nice. Speaking of price, MSRP-wise, this isn't what you would buy them at, but this combine is almost $100,000 cheaper than a Fendt Ideal. I believe this one was like sticker MSRP was like $96,000 cheaper. Now, one thing about that though, The Ideal has a lot more options. For example, you can't get automation on this. There's some bells and whistles you can't get on the Gleaner. They're meant to be simple, long-lasting combines, I think. So you don't get quite as many bells and whistles, but it is a lot cheaper. I know they always preach cost of ownership. I don't have any hard numbers, but I've been told you can rebuild one of these pretty cheap. Like for the amount of parts we've put in our combines, we could basically rebuild this one, is what I've been told. I wouldn't know until we actually did it, but that's kind of, I knew it'd be cheaper. That kind of surprised me how much cheaper, and that's kind of got us thinking about one, to be honest with you. Combines they're expensive, especially new combines. And another thing that surprised me about these, they hold their value very well. Whenever I bought my 740, it was 3 years old. I could not buy a Gleaner for what I could have bought that combine for, which is one of the reasons why I ended up with it. They hold their value extremely well. There is a loyal following of Gleaner fans out there. So that also surprised me. I mean, you look at it and you wouldn't think that it would be more than a new a used John Deere or a used Case or a used Kloss, but they oftentimes are. Another thing that kind of surprised me is weight difference. Like I say, this one weighs 33,000. I think that Ideal over there in the yard weighs like 52 or 53,000. I think there's like 15 to 20,000 pound price or weight difference. So price per pound, this is probably the most expensive combine on the market if you want to look at it like that. But that's pretty much the only things I can think of that like really surprised me on it. Oh, fuel economy. It was very easy on fuel. We were probably averaging, what did you say, 10 to 11 gallons an hour?
Yeah. You see it, you're pushing hard, it put about 12 gallons.
Our Klosses, they have a C13. It is a bigger engine, but we usually run 14 to 15.
It just takes 13 gallon to drive it through, pull it through the field loaded, empty, or not doing anything, chilling.
Now, times that I hopped back and forth between combines, I don't know which one had more power. It maybe felt like my Kloss had a little bit more power to it, but it should. It's rated at like 30 more horsepower than this, and it's a bigger engine with more torque, I would think. I would think it would have more torque, it's bigger displacement. Anyways, so if I was going to get a Gleaner, I think I would rather have a 98 to push a 40-foot head. To me, especially in green stem beans in our area, when we first start harvesting beans, we haven't had a frost yet, so the stems are very tough, they're very hard to thresh, and more horsepower would probably be the way we would want to go, I would think, if we were ordering one. Now the heads that we ran with this, it's the newer Draper, I think it's a 9350, is that right? It's
35 foot.
Yeah, 35 foot. Really like the head, other than one glaring feature. What was that?
The end snouts are like 6 inches wide, and they're on the ground, and they really knock the beans down. So when you turn around, you can't always pick them up like our McDonald's don't knock near as many down. But that was the only doubt. That and the fingers you can get in the head, in the cutter bar.
Yeah, it's a flexible cutter bar.
It's a flexible. Boy, it flexes great.
Floats really well.
It never plugged up once with me. I mean, it really flexes.
Our McDonald's, if you really push them into the ground, you will drag up. That one, we went over a lot of off-canter stuff with it, and it just scalped the ground.
Really surprised. A lot of moving parts to it, looks like, but boy, I was really surprised with it. Looks like a really nice Draper. The corn head, we didn't have any trouble.
Well, I plugged it a few times.
Well, it was wet.
Yeah.
And, I don't think there's corn head out there to take wet stuff. I don't care what to say. We got a Capella, and it does good, but I've talked to John Deere guys international. If it gets wet, it's just hard to get corn to it sometimes.
Yeah, corn head wise, I would probably go with the gearing off or Capella if it was me. I haven't priced any of those yet, so that could weigh in on that decision, I guess, if I was buying a new combine. But the Draper head, outside of it knocking over beans, I'd have no problem running that. When Dad ran those double crops, like you said, you can't get your reel down as far as you can with our McDon because of the flexible cutter bar. You'll cut your fingers right off of that reel. But you said it fed in just fine.
It fed in good. For short beans, you can take the pressure off the bar or move the bar up closer to the reel and put the reel out, and it'll get a little lower. So it wasn't a problem, but it could be in certain conditions. But you got problems. Everything's not perfect.
Right.
McDonald's not perfect, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. But yeah, the heads, that was kind of our take on them. I guess overall, the way I would look at a Gleaner, one thing we have to ask ourselves, like we've kept our Klosses for 6 years. They're not wore out, but they are getting to where they're starting to cost a lot of money in parts every year. What are we up to now? Like,
seems like we're putting a lot of money in this year.
I mean, I think we're up to probably $30,000 in parts over the last.
It's going to be a little bit more than that probably this year.
And that's over the past one whole year. So you start doing that often, and that quickly becomes a combine payment. And that's what we're trying to figure out is, do we want to keep combines longer, or do we want to try to roll combines sooner? For us personally, that's kind of what we're thinking. We're trying to figure that equation out. And especially if we were wanting to keep them longer, I think this would probably be a pretty good route to go for us. You got anything to weigh in?
Oh, it's just, yeah, if we kept it long, I think we could do most of the service work ourselves except the computer stuff. And we do on our others, but it seems like we just call them. We're always busy doing something else.
Well, most of it we can do. It takes so much time to get to the part that's broke, whereas this, everything just seems like it's not buried behind stuff. It's easy to get to.
The rotor's right up there. You put what panel down and a row of bolts around there and pull it out.
I mean, I know the joke is that you can pull the rotor out in 10 minutes, but a buddy of ours claims that they can legitimately pull the rotor out in 20 to 30 minutes to rebuild it. Now, he said he's only done that one time, and that was to put new bars on it. But, I mean, it's just very easy to get to. Try to pull a rotor out of a Kloss Lexion and tell me how long it takes you.
Takes a while.
And you're going to need a crane.
Another thing on this, the concave in the cylinder is I forget all crop, and you don't have to change anything on it. Now, if you want to fine tune a little bit in wetter corn, or some tricks you can do.
I think there's covers you can put over the concaves to keep them in there longer.
Harder thrashing wheat and things, but it didn't like most of the rotors. Seems like from what I hear people, every crop to do a good job, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's one thing about the Kloss, you get in it and run it, and I don't change anything in mine. So of course we're just corn, soybeans, and wheat. So
we change our APS grates out.
Yeah, we do that
when they're tough.
You know, other things and so I don't know, but this is a simple combine.
The duals aren't as big, and I don't think you can get a factory track option with this combine, which I don't think you would need it just because it weighs so much less. One weird thing, the feeder house is offset. That takes a little bit of getting used to. I mean, in the cab, you don't really notice it, but one thing to think of with your heads, for example, we were talking to our Capella rep, we'd basically have to buy an offset window plate to account for that, or put a new auger in our Capella head to feed, because there's going to be more auger on this side than there is on this side, just from where the feeder house sits.
And it's not that much, 6 inches or so, I think.
Yeah, and it's like that so that it takes that grain naturally just right into the front of that rotor. So they say that's why it's more efficient that way. Like I say, you'd have to watch the AGCO video on that. They really go into a lot of detail explaining that. But
there are two of these. This one goes halfway, then back in there. There it goes. The other one goes on into the cylinder. And you know, we never had that much trouble with them. We had an update kit put in. Never had that much trouble wrapping or nothing. But that was a whole lot heavier. But it kind of wonder if a folding corn head would work on this. They say it will, heavy enough to carry it. I would sure look for maybe one made out of aluminum. I think there's a few companies making aluminum heads out there now. I don't know if they got any folding heads. But
I know our Capella rep, he says that they sell a lot of them for gleaners. So apparently they will work. They are heavy heads, and like I say, there's just a lot less weight to balance that. I don't know. They say it'll work, though. I think you can get a Gleaner factory folding corn head. So apparently they will hold one, but like I say, it probably wouldn't hurt if you could lighten it up a little bit, maybe. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. Can't think of anything, but I mean, I would have no issues running this combine as our main machine personally. Would you?
no, you write the check.
Well, yeah, that's the price part on any of them is going to be the part. But if the numbers were right, I mean, I wouldn't be scared to run a Gleaner at all.
Lights are great.
I mean, it's a simple design combine, which is going to be very familiar with anyone in a Gleaner or who's ever ran a Gleaner, but it has all the modern features you'd want, like as far as comforts, other than the automation system. But I mean, it has great lights. I mean, the cab's very comfortable, all in all.
If you're wanting 5,000-6,000 bushel, you're not going to get it out of this, I don't think. But it's a nice medium size.
I think if you're running an 8-row and a 35-foot head, which is what we ran, that's what we had experience with. It would run with any combine on the market with those heads. I will say that because that's what I've ran it with. I don't think you could go wrong with it.
Tell about it.
Yeah, the grain sample's perfect with it. So, especially if you're raising seed, it would probably be a pretty good option.
And you don't have to adjust it to get that good sample.
Well, yeah,
the factory, we sent pretty well factory and a little bit more, and man, it was just right on. And the double crops are spotless too. You can plant it.
thanks for watching, guys. That pretty much covers our Gleaner review or overview or whatever you want to call this video. Do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you hadn't, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, I do want to thank AGCO for giving us the opportunity to run that Gleaner, especially our AGCO rep Craig. Craig, thanks for getting us that demo. We really enjoyed it, and thanks. One other quick thing before we go. I've been mentioning in the past few videos that we're doing the 12 Days of Christmas giveaway, which we are. We're going to do the first giveaway on December 1st. Now, to be eligible for that giveaway, the video that comes out tomorrow, which will be November 30th, you have to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So you have to comment in that video, and then we are going to randomly pick a commenter from that video to win the first giveaway box.